Okay, so my name... sorry.
Robert.
I'm Robert. What's your name and what part of Frome do you live in?
My name is Christopher and I live round the corner.
How long have you lived in Frome?
Do you know, it's a funny thing you should ask that, because when people ask me, I immediately think 3 years, but I think it's about 10 or 12.
It's a while since you recalculated.
Yeah, well, I'm quite old and, you know, it doesn't really matter anymore. What would you like to know?
Do you feel safe living in Frome?
In what department?
Whichever you like, whatever concerns you. What makes you feel unsafe?
Yes, I do feel safe. Yeah, I don't think there's much fear of me being, you know, or perhaps mugged, but certainly not raped or anything these days. Years gone by perhaps, but no more. Yes, it's a safe little town.
I'll tell you, you're the first person to question that, and it's very interesting because what I've been doing is just asking a very open question like that, and people tend to reply with whatever danger is foremost in their minds. So with most people it's random violent attack, some people it's robbery, young women, maybe more sexual assault, foreign looking people, racist attacks, vulnerable people not wearing masks. You know, it's very interesting. People with kids, traffic safety.
Racist? Well, it's about 98% Caucasian here, like most of the West Country.
But if you speak to people who aren't from that 2%, then you may get a different kind of reply. I guess that's sort of the point.
Foreigners are glamorous creatures here. They have a good, pleasant time.
So do you think Frome is, that's very interesting, do you think Frome is kind of exceptional in that respect?
I don't know. I only live here.
Where did you live before have you always been in Frome?
I lived in Bath and got heartily sick of it. It's very special, Bath. Everyone lives in something called a Georgian house, but it's rather difficult not to. That's just for the bloody tourists. I don't know what to say about Frome. I get bored stiff here. But I suppose I get bored stiff anywhere.
Is that particularly in the last year or in general?
I'm just walking to work.
Well, as I get older, I get less bored and more bored at the same time. Because I'm losing energy. I used to go up to London for trips and visit lots of people, but I can't be bothered. I don't know, lockdown's been odd. It's, you know, people ask me to do things and I pretend I'm busy because I can't be bothered anymore. You'll reach that age one day, Robert.
I don't know how far off, that sounds pretty similar to me actually. But, so, I mean, what do you do? What's your day job? Or?
Oh no, there's a funny thing. It's funny you should ask that. I restore early English clock cases made between about 1670 and 1715.
Carriage or grandfather?
Long case, bracket and table.
I may have a job for you. I think it's later than 1715.
Most of them are.
Yeah. You know Chris Wodge then? Chris Wodge.
No.
It's a very specialist world you inhabit then. I live in Salisbury.
Yes.
He's got a shop in Salisbury. He restores carriage clocks.
Well, I don't touch carriage clocks.
Different world, mate.
Despicable, nonsensical, poncy little things.
I
don't like them.
I love this stuff.
Early English.
Whoever knew that there was a turf war between the carriage clock and the grandfather clock?
I am the best in the world because there's only two of us and I'm better than he is. Well, I think so.
Where's the other bloke? Is it a
somewhere
bloke?
in Surrey. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. It was very PC.
Make no assumptions. I mean, I love these micro tribes. This is what I spent most of my life doing. I mean, I've made
micro tribes.
I've made a documentary on the Mongolian Navy and an Arctic outdoor preschool. I seek out these kinds of small tribes. So I find that very interesting.
It's funny you should mention tribes because not long ago I was watching, I can't remember the name of the island, but it's where Prince Philip was worshipped and thought was a god.
The cargo cult.
Yes. And they came over, about 6 of them, and they described the English as being extraordinary. They stayed with the 3 tribes of England, which were the working class tribe, the middle class tribe, and the upper class tribe. I thought that was hilarious.
If you were to explain to one of these islanders the tribes of Frome, what would your taxonomy be?
I couldn't. It's become a real hodgepodge. They used to be able to, it was quite well known for its violence and, friendly violence. People used to hit it. Look, Friday night, you're a scaffolder, I'm a drug dealer. You've got to hit. That's fine. Don't worry. Just let's hit each other. And I own a pub round the corner as well, which unfortunately is closed. I came here and I didn't like many of the pubs, so I had the great luxury of opening my own, which is delightful.
You can name check it if you like.
It's called the Three Swans, and it's a good little boozer. Unfortunately closed at the moment.
For good or?
I don't know, it all depends on the Indian COVID at the moment. It was going to be the 21st of June opening, but now, who knows?
Indeed.
Perhaps you could help me.
I've written a lot on the subject actually, as it happens, seeing as you mentioned it. I'll refer you to it, but not on camera. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I turn the camera off?
Only if you'd like to know anything else.
It sounds like I would like to spend many evenings with you in your
I don't
pub.
blame you. It's a very nice pub and I'm extremely entertaining.
But it's raining and I've got to go.
I know.
So thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so we're back on. We'll have really good audio for this.
Right. We're back onto the my
Tribes.
opinion of the tribes
Yeah.
of Frome.
Yeah, what's
Well,
the taxonomy of the tribes of...
It's changed very, very much over the years, as I believe many country towns have. We seem to be getting a lot of people from London. They sell their flat in Muswell Hill, and most of them are young with children. They think they have a better life. But it's, I find it, I don't know if it's distressing or whether it's okay. But there's lots of those trendy people with man buns and babies, walking around with babies, or sort of looking around as though they've just given birth to the new Messiah. That's my phone.
That's yours, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'll just turn it off.
Just when you get into the best bit.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
so let's go back
the
to
man buns.
So from your vantage point in the pub, you see this, right? You know all these people.
Yes, well I don't know them because they slip out and slip back in again. I don't know whether they do Frome anymore. They like walking up and down Catherine Hill a lot, showing the baby off. And there's lots of sort of well-cut clothes about, which I didn't notice. It's either sort of super trendy, or the interesting one is older people moving here, which is quite amusing because a lot of them seem to buy a set of tweeds and Wellington boots, especially because they've moved. And also massive large vehicles here now, SUVs and Range Rovers, things like that. So it has changed a lot. My pub is the last manager closed. It was a proper pub. There's this posh fella who will probably take it over. I frowned a bit at that, but I thought, go with it. Just go with it. We haven't got any choice. But there's still the rough underbelly of Frome going around. There's still a few good beatings and whatever, but it is getting very respectable. House prices, of course, have gone up ridiculously.
Does it concern you that it's getting respectable?
No, I'm too old. I just accept it. I suppose in an odd sort of way I'm fairly respectable. I don't know.
I mean, I haven't really thought about it before, but I suppose there will be few professions with a more nuanced feel for the tribes of any town than a pub landlord, actually.
Yes, I
So
don't.
you must have a very...
Well, I've never actually had anything to do with running the pub because you might not believe this looking at me and listening to, I have learning difficulties and I can't add and subtract. It's called dyscalculia. Also, I found out the other on my I'm textbook ADHD, with a bit of dyspraxia thrown in, and I was really quite proud of this because they're the three big ones at school these days.
So let's see, dyspraxia is
Clumsiness. ADHD is just a big
What did they used to call them?
morons.
Morons. And what was the other one?
Dyscalculia, morons.
Morons again. Thick.
Yeah, that's
Picture.
right.
So has it helped you getting this diagnosis?
Doesn't help at all. I like telling people. If I go to a bank or insurance company, they advise me to tell them, otherwise they're abusing me for my human rights. That's okay, Robert.
But some people, because I've got friends who have been diagnosed with ADHD and things like that very late in life, like in their 60s or something. And some people have found it a huge relief. They're finally saying, it's not me, it's...
No, it is me. I'm the one that's got it, and it's me. Had I been at school recently, I would have had about 4 personal teachers, and be a hero.
So do you think if such a diagnosis had existed when you were at school, it would have helped you?
It didn't, and that's all there is to it. I'm actually old enough to remember being stood, this is remarkable, this is history, being stood in a corner of a classroom, facing the corner, with a pointed dunce cap on with a D written on it. Yeah,
Like in the cartoons?
just like in the cartoons.
Wow.
Yeah, impressive, isn't it?
What year were you born?
I think it's very personal, 1947.
I've got another question to ask you.
Go on.
And if you could just preface this by saying, just in one sentence, your name and what year you were born.
Christopher Moss, 1947. July the 28th, if you want to send a card.
How did you live without plastic?
Without
Plastic.
very easily and very comfortably. There's trendy shops opening now. You can go in and buy and take your own. My mother used to iron newspapers and give them to the local. She used to take bags back. We used to go to shops and they'd fill up vinegar. You had an egg box which you took back and they filled it up again. It was. I find plastic actually. I've always been this way. I mean, really distressing. I quoted a man in Bath about 20 years ago, and I said, "What do you do?" He said, "I can't remember what it's called, shrink wrap garden tools." I said, "What's the point?" He said, "You know, the stuff they sell in Sainsbury's home." But he said, "Well, that's what we do." And I said, "So as soon as you get home, you take all this plastic off and you throw it away." And we had a bit of an argument. He threw me out of the car and made me walk about a mile and a half home, which I thought was a good thing. I don't like plastic. I don't like it.
We collectively have realised it's a disaster,
Oh yes.
and we need to learn to live without it
Well,
really
this is a
quickly.
problem because you cannot live without it. You just cannot go shopping without something wrapped in plastic. You just can't do it. It's not possible. You cannot do it.
Well, my attempt.
Anyway, my brother Robert, who's quite a well-known scientist, he used to go ballooning a lot, and I said, "Look, you're wasting fuel." And this is 40 years ago. He said, "Don't worry, Chris. It's really no problem. Use what you want now because the world is completely finished." And that was 40 years ago, and that's his job, so he knows. So
What kind of scientist?
he's the original ecologist, really. He knows more about grouse ptarmigan and capercaillie than any other living man. But, he's quite well known in his field, and that's his field.
The reason I've been asking people who were born before 1955 this question is in the hope that we can change our behaviour
No, there's too many of us.
learn to live without plastic.
Absolutely not. No possible way. We've got a young generation who just accepts it as the norm, which of course it is. A few of them say no plastic when they're walking along the road, drinking out of their coffee out of their polystyrene cups, which are basically a petroleum byproduct. So, it's an interesting one. No, it's all too late.
Thank you very much.